Welcome to the Jackson Rudolph podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is Good Morning Sport Karate, a special live episode here from the Renaissance Waverly Hotel at the Battle of Atlanta of the Jackson Rudolph podcast, brought to you by Black Belt Magazine. We've got a couple of action-packed shows planned for you guys today. Starting right here, right now, is Good Morning Sport Karate with an excellent guest lineup. And then later this afternoon, as soon as competition is over, hopefully around 4:30 p.m., we will have Inside Sport Karate with even more guests, and we've got more coming from there. As for this morning, I'm joined by a couple of Team Paul Mitchell members. We've got Ben Jones, Esteban Tremblay, and Dawson Holt, our three musketeers that were recruited from Team Competitive Edge over to Paul Mitchell not too far before the Battle of Atlanta last year. So over a full calendar year on the team for these guys. First and foremost, I want to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves to the podcast. Ben, we'll start with you, my friend.
I specialize in weapons, creative films, and team supervision, so some I specialize in weapons.
Thank you, Ben. Welcome to the show. And Esteban, who are you, man?
Cool. Well, I'm Esteban Tremblay from Quebec, Canada, and I started doing karate since I'm like 3 years old, and now I'm 18 years old from Team Paul Mitchell Karate. And yeah, I do kama, bow, in tournaments, stuff like that, forms as well. And we are prepping for tread weapons today. So.
Remember, Team Paul Mitchell martial arts.
Martial arts. Tread weapons. True. That's true.
And then we got Dawson Holt back here behind me.
Martial arts.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Dawson Holt. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I've been doing martial arts for about 13 years now, and I've been competing on the NASCA circuit since I was around 10 or 11. And I also specialize in more of the CMX categories as far as weapons, forms, and team sync. And today, I'm ready to do traditional weapons. So yeah, it's going to be a good day.
And for those of you tuning in, these are three of the absolute best in the world at what they do, evidenced by the fact that all three of them have already qualified for the Battle Zone Finals coming up tonight in that CMX Creative Musical Extreme Weapons category. We've got Ben Jones, who won which division did you win? Musical Weapons, Esteban Tremblay winning the Creative Non-Bladed, and then Dawson Holt winning the Creative Bladed category. They'll be joined in the finals by Rashad Eugene, who won the Extreme Division and is going to be one of the upcoming guests on the show. So I'm going to start with just a recap of competition from last night. Why don't we just have each of you take us through the division that you won? How did things shake out, and what do you feel like kind of led you to success in the division that you won? How did things shake out, and what do you feel like kind of led you to success in the division that you won?
So the 23, it was a lot of us. It took a while. Once we got started, it was good. There were a few drops, and not everybody was doing like wireless. But once we got to the end, I had probably one of the best forms I've done. Once we got to the end of my career so far, it felt really good. Everything like I wanted to have some stuff in there that turned out pretty well that did not hit as well in the previous one. So that felt really good, and then we got the win, so it was great.
Well, and that's the importance of consistency, right? Like sometimes you're going to have a division at a World Tour event where a lot of your top guys that are going against you, like sometimes they drop. But if you're the competitor that can be consistent, that can hit your form with the most, that absolutely deserves it. You know what I'm saying? So that sounds like that was kind of your path to getting this ticket on stage. Now let's pivot to Esteban. What did your win? That sounds like that was kind of your path.
Well, at first I did, we started with Extreme Weapon, and I always do for my first storm something I feel comfortable doing, that I know I'm not going to mess up, something pretty, not safe, but like nothing crazy in my form, just to get used to the lights, the mats, to see how the crowd reacting, stuff like that. I'm really taking the first division to realize what's going on, and after that, every division after, I'm trying to add more stuff to my forms and try to put the stuff that I see what the judges want to see and what the crowd's like. So that was my strategy yesterday. So every form I did, I try to put some new stuff and try to evolve through the day. And on the third division in creative non-bladed, I got the win in weapon. So I felt good.
So we talk about consistency with Ben. I think with you it's a story of strategy, right? And that's something that a lot of competitors don't appreciate. that your individual divisions on a Friday night, they don't happen in a vacuum. It's not truly one division at a time. You've got the same judges, most of the time the same competitors, the same opponents in all of those divisions. And so if you're able to show an evolution over the course of multiple divisions, that you can continue to step it up, that you can respond to new challenges, that is something that the judges are going to reward, right? It's not just who's the best in this division. There is a psychological factor of how does a competitor evolve over the course of the division. Now we pivot to Dawson, talking about your win in the creative bladed category. So tell us about that.
So what transpired is I was seeded in that division, so meaning that I was around in that last spot. So I got a good look of everyone. Some people didn't get to hit their form that night, which it happens. But I didn't really feel the need to pull off any crazy, weapon manipulations. I just had to do what I do best, is to try not only just to execute the releases, the creative manipulations, but also the martial arts, strike, because this is what we do. So I always try to have the foundation first, perform it best, and then the fancy stuff comes next. So that's what's always on my mind when it comes to the fancy stuff forms in the first place. So you can't forget about the martial arts and the foundation. So yeah, I just hit a good solid form, and that was enough for the win.
Yeah. And what I love here is we've had a theme for each of these, right? Consistency, strategy, and now with Dawson, execution, right? You have to be able to go out there and execute the form. And I love, Dawson, the emphasis that you place on the martial arts aspect of it, because that is the primary judging criteria, right? When multiple competitors are as good as you guys are, right, and your basics are of a certain level, at that point, yes, it comes down to difficulty, it comes down to intensity, who wants it more. But to get in that conversation in the first place, it's about being a good martial artist and having those solid basics. That is the primary judging criteria. And talking about judging criteria, the three of you guys have found yourselves in these men's weapons finals consistently over the course of this season and throughout your careers, even in the juniors, right? And obviously, Ben and Esteban, you guys are both bow guys. You do sync together. Dawson, you're obviously a bit different because you do sword. But when it comes down to you guys are going to go on stage in the Battle Zone finals with this tonight, what do you feel individually is the difference maker? What is your key to success? What is the reason that judges would give it to you instead to one of your phenomenal teammates, right? So Ben, what is it for you? What's that X factor that you look for when you're going on stage against these guys?
Yeah. So one thing that is, I think something that we probably all do is we all have extra moves or upgrades that we can add if needed. It also comes down to the division itself in the night show. If you are, depends on the order, but if you are one of the last competitors, you get to watch everything that happens before. So that can play a factor of what exactly you are going to do as you go up, even if that's 5 minutes before you go. So that's one thing, and then having those upgrades ready and already consistent, if needed, is a big thing that I have kind of planned out. And then also it comes down to just the performance of it all. There's a huge crowd now. Everybody's there to watch. So the presence of what you're doing, the intensity, the performance, sometimes the music choice, which isn't always necessarily up to us with the copyright maybe, but that can still play a huge factor. So all of the performance as a whole, I think, is a huge thing that comes into play, and kind of playing to the crowd as well, because we know they're there, and that can be a huge factor.
So always having that trick up your sleeve. And I love how you mentioned playing the crowd as well, right? Because when you're trying to win at a NASCA World Tour event like this, where you are performing in front of a large crowd, oftentimes whoever wins the crowd is going to be the person who has the advantage. That's part of the reason why going last has so much value, right? Because if you're the competitor that's going last in the division, there's been that suspense that's built up. It's really hard to not have the crowd. If it's been a crazy division and you're going last, people are going to ride that momentum. And what you talk about, Ben, by having that trick to capitalize on that and seal the deal, I think that that's huge in terms of strategy. Pivoting to Esteban, another bow guy, right? Is it any different for you? What do you think your X factor is?
I will say I do focus a lot on myself just before going on stage. Try not, even like Ben said, we try to see what's going on. I'm gonna check, of course, what Ben's gonna do on stage, what Dawson's gonna throw on stage to
and
see
real
if.
Quick, you're looking at the warm-ups to figure this out, right?
Yeah, also. of course. And yeah, I kind of plan maybe new trick, new stuff to make sure that you stay on top. But I would say most importantly, take to like think about what I'm gonna do and not what about the others gonna do, and really trying to make a good clean performance. And like a little bit like Ben says, like because there's such a huge crowd when you go on stage, you need to try to like use it to gain more energy, more adrenaline, more of that to get a performance that you cannot like get in the normal individuals. So like,
And so there's balance, right? It's balancing what is the thing that you need to change to try to capture the crowd, to make your adjustments based on what your competitors did. But at the same time, the balance is focusing on executing your plan, right? Kind of going back to what Dawson was talking about with execution, right? You've got to be able to do what you came to do, right?
Yeah.
And be able to adjust along the way. So now shifting to Dawson, what's your take on this whole thing? What do you think? Obviously, you're the sword guy, right? So you have that makes you different right away. But looking forward to the Battle Zone Finals tonight, what is the X factor for you? What do you intend to make the difference with?
Well, every one of you just about said it right there. Yes, I'm doing sword, so that automatically makes me stand out. I guess that I want to use that and to try to be different as possible. Is I can't do what these guys are doing, right? I can't throw my weapon up and do 3 spins, right? I don't want to do it because I respect their skill sets. I want to do my own thing. And that's one thing that most people like to do now. It almost feels that people have to win because they have to do this big trick. But in all reality, sometimes I don't know. That's what I feel like sometimes, instead of focusing on their self and, trying to polish up anything else in their form, or just trying to be different, right? But yeah, I think do what I'm comfortable with, and even if I'm first, that's okay. Do what you've been preparing to do, right? And then even if you are first, set the tone, right? Set it up so that way you can push the other guys to do a good form as well. Because I want to beat them at their best as well. So I don't want to beat them if they drop or stumble or anything like that. I want to beat them at their best. So but yeah. So even though if I'm different, I want to try to be my own personal individual. So I think that will give me the competitive edge over everyone. So
Sliding in the competitive edge there, I like it. But truly, that is the champion's mindset, right? Like the champion's mindset is, I don't want to beat my competitors when they have a bad day, when they drop. I want to beat them when they're at their best. And the theme that I'm hearing across all of you guys' thoughts is this intense mutual respect for each other. And I think that that's one thing that makes your triumvirate stand out from others. Because even when it was myself, Reed, Cole, Tyler, like that whole gauntlet that we had when I was in my prime, we were all great friends, but that was out the window when it came time to go on stage. We had a mutual agreement to set friendship aside to go on stage. What's unique about the 3 of you and some of your other teammates is that you don't do that. The friendship never goes away. It's obvious when you guys are getting scores between forms, as one of you's coming off stage, the other one's coming on stage. You don't have to go to that other place where you're enemies. You're always friends, and yet you still find that way to be competitive with each other. I want each of you to speak to that, because I think that that is a great lesson to be learned for a lot of young athletes that are watching this, that you can balance being good friends with your competitors, but also knowing that you want to beat them. You want them to go home in second place, but they're still your friend, right? Talk about that dynamic. We'll go the reverse order this time so that Dawson has a little bit more to talk about.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's something that it's kind of hard to explain because we've known each other for so long and we've been teammates for a really long time. So we've always had that chemistry kind of from the start. So, and we still do to this day, really. So, yeah, I still want to beat him, but at the same time, we're still homies at the end of the day. We want what's best for each other. But Yeah, really. I mean,
So, listening to Dawson, it's natural. That's just, it is the way it is, right? Like, it's always been this way, so y'all are just accustomed to it, right? Esteban, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, we've been teammates basically our entire, like, not lives, but like tournament life, I guess, since we are in competitive edge. Yeah, karate life. It feels natural to just stay friend before competing, after competing, during competing. And also, you don't necessarily need to think that someone is your enemy to be able to beat them. Like, you can also get inspired by them to be the best and try new stuff and be more creative. And I feel like this mindset of still be able to think that your biggest competitor to beat is your friend, because it's not in a bad way. You don't like that drive to win is not negative, but it's like really positive because Ben and Dawson's are my friends. So that's a cool feeling, and I
think that's powerful, right? Like, that competitive energy is not divisive. It actually brings you closer together because a rising tide raises all boats, right? Like, all of you are getting better because you're pushing each other. And I think that that's a great way to think about it. Ben, we'll go to you last.
100%, like both of these guys said. We were teammates for like 5 years before we were teammates for the last 2 years or 1 year. So I plan on staying teammates for a while, hopefully. But yeah, we grew up with each other, really competing, and we've all pushed each other to be the best. You know, I always wanted to be better than Dawson, better than Esteban, still do. And we're both, or all three of us, are all pushing each other and have been for the last like 8-9 years. So I think that's a huge thing, but we obviously have a ton of respect for each other, respect each other and what we do separately. And as a team, with being sync partners with both of these guys, it's something that we have to keep. We have to keep that relationship with each other. If it wasn't there, I don't think it would go as well probably with our sync divisions.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Is that after your individual divisions, you guys got to turn around. You two have to do sync weapons. Ben and Dawson have to do sync forms. Like, immediately after this high-level individual competition, you turn around and you literally work as a team in the team synchronized division, which I think is really special. Talking about special, last topic that I want to get to. One of my favorite things, just from a media standpoint, about the three of you, is that you all have fantastic nicknames. The Truth, Air Canada, Mr. Clean. So we'll start with Ben on this one. I'm just going to ask simply, who has the best nickname and why? So you can say yourself, but I want to know why you think your nickname's the best, if that's what you think. Between the three of you guys.
I like, okay, so Esteban really works well because he's Canadian and he can jump really high. So when he does his tricking, he's super high in the air, and he's Canadian, and Air Canada gets all the height, he's in the air. But I also like Dawson because Mr. Clean is just an iconic name.
So Ben's being a politician here. I like everybody's nickname.
I do. And Dawson's really clean, right? But then you get to me, and the Truth just sounds really cool. My whole name, like Ben the Truth Jones, sounds sick. And then you gave it to me too. And so I don't know.
But there's meaning behind yours too, right? Like, it's obvious how Esteban's make sense, how Dawson's make sense. But for you, you were somebody that, especially in the junior division, we're not always getting all the calls that you maybe should have gotten sometimes, right? And so I always said that you let your performances do the talking. Your performances are the truth, which is where the nickname comes from.
And that's why it's the best.
So Ben, so there we go. He circles back, says his is the best. Real quick, Esteban, Dawson, which one's your favorite and why? Esteban first.
it's so hard to choose. Like Ben says, it's all like sick nicknames, but like I would say Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
Good choice.
Because the other thing
Good
about Mr.
choice.
Clean, as we pivot to Mr. Clean, right, is it was a hand-me-down nickname. Marcel Jones was the original Mr. Clean, right? And then obviously had a great influence on you. So talk a bit about Mr. Clean, and then we're going to cut to commercial.
Yeah, so when I started working with Marcel Jones on forms, I ended up learning that he was the original Mr. Clean. So that was a pretty cool moment that we had, not knowing. I guess it was destiny, I guess, that we just ended up working with each other. So to be honest, I don't really have an answer on who's the best. I mean, we really just talked about it. The nicknames make sense. They're, it has a story behind on how we got the nicknames, right? Esteban can jump high. Esteban can throw his weapon up really high and do crazy stuff. Ben's forms speak the truth for himself. I myself, prioritize on having good, clean technique and maybe having my own, I guess, personality that just kind of makes it Mr. Clean, I guess. But yeah, I don't really have an answer on who's the best, to be honest.
So essentially, all of these boys are saying, we like all of each other's nicknames. We like all of each other's forms. We're all friends, right? But the big thing is that mutual respect is what makes you guys so special, right? And I think that's really the message from this first segment of the podcast here, is that you guys are all some of the best in the world at what you do, but it's the mutual respect for each other that enables your friendship, that enables you to push each other to be better competitors. I think all of those things together are what sets you guys apart. So thank you guys for your time. Wishing you guys the best of luck. First, we've got traditional weapons starting through the eliminations today. And then tonight, in the Battle Zone finals, you don't want to miss it. They will be in the men's weapons final. They're probably going to be in a whole lot more. So make sure you tune in and subscribe to the Battle of Atlanta on YouTube. We'll be back with more Good Morning Sport Karate right after this.
Y'all better watch out for that young boy. JPM, baby.
Welcome back to the Jackson Rudolph podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is Good Morning Sport Karate. If you've been tuning in with us, you just heard from Ben Jones, Esteban Tremblay, and Dawson Holt. Now we're going to hear from a couple of their opponents, one of their teammates in the men's division. We've got Alex Mancias and Rashad Eugene. Thank you guys both for coming on the show this morning.
Yes, sir.
Excited to be here.
Same, likewise. Thank you.
So I want to start with a recap of last night's competition, right? We talked about each of those boys getting some wins, and really the reason that I paired you guys up is we've got two dual threat athletes on the show right now.
Yes, sir.
Forms and weapons and point fighting, competing in virtually every division that you can compete in. We got to get Alex in traditional forms at some point.
Uh-oh.
But for the most part, for the most part, competing in every division that you can compete in, right? Forms, weapons, fighting, just like it used to be back in the day, right? So I want to start with a brief recap of how yesterday's competition was for you guys. Rashad, we'll start with you because you're actually going to be joining the 3 previous guests in the Battle Zone Finals for weapons tonight, right?
Yes, that is a very correct. So my first division, that was Extreme Weapons, very good division, 16 competitors. I went 5th. Didn't have a seed, not a NASCA member, took first place. Hit every part of my form into that division. Creative non-bladed, I took 3rd. Really good division. I know Dawson took that division. Creative non-bladed, I suffered a drop, which is okay, had to regroup. Musical weapons, I will say this. I tried something different. It didn't go my way, whereas I tried to do a cartwheel double full with double bows in my hand. The set was...
Would you be the first person to land that if you did?
Yes. Honestly, the set of going up wasn't there, but I know what to do. And then after that, I dropped. So I was okay with that. And then extreme forms off of one round-off backflip, I felt a very good very weird pain in my ankle, and I just immediately stopped and bowed out of musical forms after that, tried to regroup in creative forms, and I took 3rd place in that. So that's how my day went yesterday.
And congratulations on the solid finishes, but that ankle injury, that sounds significant, right? Have you been able to bounce back from that? Is that going to be a factor tonight?
Yes, I bounced back. Actually, they ran musical forms first after extreme forms, and I bowed out of that, so that way I could have time to rest my ankle. And so it was good. I wrapped it up tight. It was still pretty good after I took off the ankle brace and everything. So I'm able to regroup in the finals for sure.
Awesome. And I know a lot of fans at home are excited to hear that the Black Mamba is going to be just okay for this evening, right?
Yes.
Pivoting over to Alex, right? You had some massive divisions yesterday, competing in the open weight, had some good fights. Everybody in that open weight was a killer, right? I mean, it was a deep, deep open weight division. So tell us a little bit about how your night went. And also, let me say, the debut of he and Haley Glass's synchronized form. So you got a lot to talk about. Summarize it for us. Give us the highlights.
Yeah, so day 2, I'm excited for it. But yesterday, started with Extreme, and I was kind of excited. I love that Extreme division just because I really get to make music with my own voice, right? Show off my intensity, my power. Unfortunately, I had a drop. I should have known this, though. As professional martial artists, when a move doesn't work, you should maybe take it out or change it. I was stubborn about it, and I said, I got it, I want to do it. Didn't go my way, so dropped in my first section. I regrouped, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take it out. And so I took it out, and I finally nailed the form, and I got second behind Ben Jones, and Ben ran the best form I've ever seen him run, in my opinion.
Yes.
And
What's crazy is he was saying that on the show. Like, when he was on the show, he was saying it might be the best form that I've ever done. What was different about him last night?
No, I think last night it finally came all together for Ben. I know it was almost like I thought of myself when I was trying so hard to win weapons, and then I finally won, just overcame that bridge, that hump, and then seeing him come all together with it, I was like, okay, after I finished my form, I felt pretty confident taking the division. And then I saw Ben run his form, and I was like, dang it, Ben, why you got to do me like that? But no, he, after every release, it wasn't just the selling on the pause, but he had facial expressions. He was, putting smiles on after every release. So I was just super excited to see him win. He definitely deserves it, and I can't wait to see him in the finals tonight. But on to fighting. Trying to conserve my energy between weapons and fighting is tough, but settling the nerves and the butterflies, I just take it all into the ring and let go of it there. I had 3 fights, I believe. I fought Casey Montgomery from Team ATL, fought Anthony Merrick from Next Level, and then I fought Enrique Latona, who I'm known for a very long time. I started fighting off his brother, Jason Latona, and now fought him for the 2nd time. I lost him on VFT at Ocean State. Yesterday was a rematch. He got my number again, but it was a great back and forth battle. And then I had to regroup, had Team Sync, and I gotta say, Haley and I were very nervous just because it was different. It was different for us. We're used to just doing our own divisions, and to kind of bring both of our styles together, which is very similar, and then do it as a power couple, it was awesome.
That was literally a power couple.
Unfortunately, we had a drop, but it was something that was very unique and special to us. We had only practiced 2 times over Zoom for about 30 minutes, and then twice in person. So
Wait,
So
what?
hold on.
Wait, what?
You guys put together a whole sync form with 1 hour total on Zoom. And then how long are we talking for these in-person sessions of you guys working on it?
Probably about no more than 2 hours, so about 4 hours.
Total?
Yeah. Well, no, like 4 hours total. 2 hours each time we practice.
So 5 hours including Zoom
Possibly,
of
yeah.
practice.
That's
And y'all
nice.
went out there and did your first sing form ever.
Yep,
That's
is correct.
wild.
That is correct. And what's actually crazy is it's, I guess you could say more than 5 hours, but I'll say 5 hours and actually focusing on it, because when we went to Vegas at the Super Show, we had done a little sync thing,
Right.
and that was already an idea that we had been working on, and that's actually in our section. So it was 2 years in the making, to be honest with you, and to finally see it come to fruition was very exciting, because the music was also different. It was different. She posted a collaboration reel with me. With she put the clock is ticking, and there's like a clock sound,
Yeah.
and our form starts with that. So it was very different, unique, and excited to run it again.
That's sick. I love it. I love it. And can't wait to see that again. We're going to have some great battles over the course of this season between you two and your teammates, Ben
Oh,
Jones
yeah.
and Esteban Tremblay. That is going to be fireworks and synchronized weapons every single time.
Definitely.
And, you know, we talk about you guys both being dual threats, both doing forms and weapons as well as point fighting. And what I want to talk about now is, especially speaking to the Black Belt Magazine audience, who many of which may not even know what sport martial arts is, have never been to a tournament, but they're just martial artists, right? Speak to the importance of just being a well-rounded martial artist. Because when it comes to this sport, you two are two of the most well-rounded martial artists that we have. You do everything. Rashad, that even extends to doing every weapon under the sun, right? So talk about how important that is to you to simply be a well-rounded martial artist.
It starts with body conditioning, exercising, the general stuff, and going above that with resistance training, weight training, and also eating healthy, which I recently started consistently doing in part of my training, and doing something a little bit different, like stepping out of your comfort zone. Like for me personally, one thing that stepped out of my comfort zone, I know y'all noticed it, but I posted me going to the beach almost every Monday or every Tuesday. I'm not enjoying the beach. I'm legit running. I'm exercising, running 1 mile on the Miami beach, not on the beach. One mile on the sidewalk next to the famous hotels, 1 mile back to my car on the beach. And then it doesn't stop there. I don't go to my car. I go inside the water. I practice techniques 50 to 100 times with his side kicks, reverse punch, back fist, chop punch. Yes, chop punch every time in the water. And I stay in the water for like a good 30 minutes, almost an hour. So that's something that's an example of stepping out of my comfort zone, because one, I never enjoyed the beach. Coming from Miami, I never enjoyed the beach. All right? But now started doing that, it just consistent. I started to get accustomed to it, and I have to do something out of my comfort zone, which I have to go above and beyond that. So really, when you're talking about being a well-rounded martial artist, you got to do something that is just out of your own comfort zone, pretty much, and that is just practicing your techniques, going back to your basics. One, I'm not gonna go more into that, but just going back to your basics, because it'll be no filter. So pretty much just going back to your basics, stepping out of your comfort zone, and just being a healthy, rounded martial artist. That's my opinion.
And I love that idea of stepping out of your comfort zone, right? I've always been of the opinion that if you're a 4th degree black belt in some style, taekwondo, karate, whatever, right? If you're a 4th degree black belt and you've never even tried a BJJ class, right? Or done some Kali training, right? Whatever the case may be, then you're doing martial arts wrong, right? It's too one-dimensional to just fixate on one style, only ever do one style. There's so much more that martial arts has to offer, right?
Right.
It's so common that people get into the debate of like, oh, well, this style's better than this style, or this style's more effective for the street, or more effective for MMA.
See.
But it's like, truly, the people who are the best at defending themselves in real-world situations, the people who are the best in the MMA ring, are typically the most well-rounded martial artists, right?
Seriously.
So, Alex, now you
Seriously.
speak to that a little bit and the importance to you. I mean, also helping out. I mean, Rashad's an instructor as well, teaches at Diamond Martial Arts Academy, right? Alex, you're helping your mom run a school down in Texas, right? Have a ton of students. So speak a bit about not only the importance of being a well-rounded martial artist, but the influence that has on the young people that you're inspiring.
Definitely, no. For me, it was more of when I started my martial arts journey, my uncle, my mom's brother, he just applied that foundation since we started. You're gonna do forms, weapons, and fighting. So it's something I just trained all the time. And I at one tournament I got mad because I had to do forms. I used to hate forms. I used to throw tantrums to doing weapons or forms. I just didn't like it.
Same.
And then one tournament, one of my mom's instructors pulled me aside because I was crying because I lost fighting, and he was like, "Hey, are you 18?" I said, "No." "Do you pay the bills?" "No." "All right, you're gonna listen and do what your mom says. Till you're 18, you pay the bills, okay?" And then on, continue to do forms, weapons, and fighting. But I think it's very, very important because, I've been told the saying, I don't want to offend nobody, but I've been told, don't be a partial artist, be a martial artist. Right? So that has definitely been a huge influence on me. And I believe I'll speak on weapons and fighting really quick. Weapons does help your fighting with the endurance of running forms. You're running high intensity for a minute, 90 seconds, whatever it is, to 2 minutes of fighting. It does go hand in hand with your explosiveness, to your blitz, your D-side, and then for fighting, all the footwork. It helps with all your tricking, your stances, your setups, your power. So it does balance out on both ends. But I think it's also very important if you can do it, why not, right? And having a school and having, trying to teach this to my kids, some of them, don't want to fight or are shy to do forms, but when you do it yourself, you get to almost be a role model for these kids, and it also pushes you and holds you accountable. Because there's been times in practice where I'm like, I don't want to run open hand forms, but I'm like, no, your kids do it, you got to do it. So then it also helps you in my endurance. Right. So just being an overall martial artist just goes back to, for me, my foundation and my training that was laid from my mom's instructor to my mom being my instructor, and just bringing it out to the competition floor, because nowadays, it's tough to see, especially at a high level, a martial artist and a competitor doing both and winning both. So I'm definitely not done with I'm not gonna pick one. I've had conversations where people are like, why don't you just choose one? Well, whoever's watching, I'm not done. Okay, I got a whole lot to go, and I want to inspire as many people that I can, because it is tough. I know for younger athletes, might be like, you're doing 10 divisions today, this weekend. I want to let them know, if you want to do 10, you can do 10. And I got my eyes set on triple overalls, double overalls, whatever it is, weapons, fighting, and sink, and open weight. So I'm not done.
Kevin Thompson style, am I right?
That's right. KA strong, baby.
For sure. And, the other thing that I love about this is everything that you guys are saying is part of the reason why you guys are fan favorite athletes, right? Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is I think that each of your fan bases are a little bit different, right? I think that Rashad, everybody defaults to being a Rashad fan. There's no reason to not be a fan of Rashad because of how entertaining he is, right? You literally never know what he's going to do. It's always going to be at a high level. It's always going to be entertaining, and that's what draws people into Rashad. Whereas Alex, you have a loyal fan base. You've got a crew of people that are always going to be all in on Alex Mancias, right? And I think that for both of you, it comes from the personalities that you're showing here, right? Who you are is the reason that you draw that type of attention. And I think that that's huge for especially young athletes who one day want to be in the position that you guys are in. It's important to realize that. So now looking ahead to the Battle Zone Finals tonight, Rashad, you've got a matchup guaranteed in weapons. Alex, you're going to try to fight your way there through the heavyweights today, right? Yes. Rashad, you first. Looking at that matchup, going up against those three Paul Mitchell guys, what's your key to success? What do you have to do to be the one who comes out on top in the weapons final?
Biggest mistake, but in a good way, back when I was coming up, consistency. Yes, I'm known for doing so many weapons, doing crazy things, but up until the last NASCA tournament where it just clicked to me in one division that actually helped me out yesterday, is all about consistency. So it's all about, for the keys to success for me, is just staying consistent what I'm doing with double bow. Not changing anything, not gonna add anything, and I'm known for doing that last minute in my form, but just staying very consistent in my form. So that's the key for me.
I love it. And that was a big theme earlier in the show too, is you gotta give yourself a chance, right? Go out there, be consistent, do your thing, hit your form, and then you see where the chips are going to fall, right? Best of luck to you tonight.
Yes.
Sounds like we're going to see double bow. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. Pivoting to Alex, you got to fight your way there. Talk about making your way through the heavyweights today.
For me, I just have to continue to trust in myself. I think, to be honest, yesterday, I was a little hesitant when I fought. I was a little too relaxed. So it's just about capitalizing on the mistakes, learning from them, and quickly making an adjustment. I don't have no warm-up fights. There's no time for that. It's as soon as I get in the ring, it's I'm handling business. I gotta be myself, because I remember at Ocean State, you talked to me once I started breaking out a little bit in my divisions and going to the Grand. You said that's what happens when you trust yourself. So I just have to continue to do that, trust myself even more, rely on my basics with championships, and just continue to have my eye on that stage. Walking in last night, seeing my teammate Sad kill it, it's like I want to be up there and as a veteran fighter on the team, which sounds crazy to say, I want to take some overalls too. It's the battle, and I want to be a part of this prestigious event and winning it for the team. I mean, after all, I do weapons and I can do forms and I fight, but I got picked up for fighting. So that's what I'm going to try and take tonight.
I just got chills, man.
I did too. Goodness.
I'm ready, man. That's it. I'm
Good.
ready, so.
And I love the two stories, right? Somebody that's got their ticket. You're focused on the finals tonight. You got more divisions to try to win in the meantime.
Oh, yes.
Traditional, you got your fighting division, right? And then Alex in this position of, you got 2 fighting overall grand championships this year. You want another one. You've got to be clutch today in order to pull that off. We're all excited to watch it. Make sure you guys are tuning in to all the social media streams, Black Belt Magazine, Point Fighter Live. Make sure you subscribe to the Battle of Atlanta on YouTube to catch the Battle Zone finals tonight and more of the Jackson Rudolph podcast. We're going to go to commercial, but we'll be right back with more of Good Morning Sport Karate.
Lewis.
Y'all better watch out for that young boy. JPM, baby.
A good workout can be elusive, disappearing the moment you look away at some other interest in your schedule. Our attention is divided, and life moves quickly. It can pass you by, even as you're living it. But not you. You make it work. You make the time. The fighting spirit haunts you, and you want to keep it close. Right there in your home, where you can keep up the fight. The perfect at-home workout lives on in a new age. The Century Ghost Wavemaster. Ethereal design. Real results.
Welcome back to the Jackson Rudolph podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is Good Morning Sport Karate. We have our final segment of the morning, and we've had an interesting evolution of the show today. We started with some forms and weapons specialists, those 3 boys from Team Paul Mitchell, Ben Jones, Esteban Tremblay, Dawson Holt. Then we pivoted to some dual threats, Alex Mancias, Rashad Eugene, competing in both forms of weapons and fighting. And now we pivot to 2 of the best point fighters in the world today. We've got Katana Everett, Cameron Dawson of Team Dojo Elite. I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. This is crazy. So, Katana, let's start with you. Just kind of introduce yourself to our audience.
My name's Katana Everett. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've been doing martial arts since I was about 4 years old, and I currently work here at the dojo in northern Georgia.
Awesome. And again, thank you for coming on the show, Katana. And of course, Cam.
Yes, sir. My name is Cameron Dawson from Baltimore. I have 2 schools there. Just traveling, competing, doing my best to make as much change in the martial arts and urban community as we possibly can.
I love it. I love it. And so, Katana, we're going to start with you because one huge thing that I want to talk about is the success and the depth of the women's division right now. Of course, you're somebody who's at the top of that division. You've had some excellent fights this year. You looked phenomenal at the Ocean State Grand Nationals, a thriller of a final fight in that one, right? But first, before we get to some of the details about you as a fighter, when we're going to see you next, can you speak generally about how deep is this women's fighting division right now?
I love seeing it. To see about 20 and 30 women in a division for open weight is unheard of. Like, thinking back to when I first started, I guess, like right after Diamonds 2018, 2019, even 2017, I remember it was 10 of us. So to be able to see like a lot of these younger girls, like fresh 18s, 19s coming in and really adding to the depth is awesome. But now, like, because everybody's so new, it's definitely going to be an evolution of like just people growing, and it's kind of anybody's game at this point. If from what I've seen, we have a lot of people in here. It came down to Jimena and Alexi for the open weight, which is super dope. Alexi just started. Jimena is still fairly new, but with her experience and her frequency of competing, she's fighting kind of like a vet with these newer people. So it's awesome to see, and it really is anybody's game if you know, like, if there aren't some people there, like if there aren't key players there, then it's anybody, which is dope to see. But the depth is awesome. And even seeing some of the 12 to 13s, I have a little Collins Howard, she's coming up. Those girls are fighting like crazy. I was over there screaming, the energy is there. So to even see those girls like coming up in the next couple years is going to be dope. So yeah.
What I love about all this, Katana, is how the female fighters answered the call, right? Is that there's been a long-standing activism for female fighters, for them to get more recognition. Shout out to Maggie Messina, Female Fighters Matter too, for all the work that she's done.
Yeah.
And a lot of the response to that advocacy was, we need more of them at the events, right? Like, we can't make accommodations for 5 or 6 people, right? And the female fighters have answered the call. They're coming out in full force. We've got huge divisions now, open weight divisions, doesn't matter. The other thing I want to ask is, and I know this from even when I was an active competitor, there was nothing like just being able to sit back and be a spectator sometimes and just appreciate some of the talent that's around us. So obviously we know how good you are, but as you watch that women's division, who are some of the fighters that stand out to you and that you respect most as opponents, that you're like, hey, these girls got it going on?
Jimena, hands down, and she continues to prove herself. Again, I think everybody's still new, so even everybody's new, period, right now. There's people on brand new teams that are, I guess, being treated as vets right now. But everybody in here, I want to say 95% of the women are new as far as the women's divisions go. So right now, the person that has earned their spot and earned my respect the most has been Jimena, and she continues to prove it in teams, open weight, division, overalls, whether she's here, Mexico, wherever she goes, she does her thing. And I'm really proud of her too, so she's doing her thing.
That's awesome. I love that respect. And the stats don't lie, right?
Exactly.
Like, over the course of the last 3 seasons, I'd be willing to bet she's got the most overalls and open weights combined of any of the female fighters. She's also the most active, right?
Exactly.
She comes to all the big tournaments. She's always in that Final Four, that final fight, and most of the time being able to come out on top and win it.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that somebody else who's a top fighter in that division is able to show that humility and show that respect for their opponents. That was a huge topic in our Forms and Weapons guests that were on the show, is that mutual respect for your opponents.
Yeah.
Now, as we pivot to Cam, I also want to give you a chance to shout out any female fighters. This is your chance to maybe brag about Kitana a bit too, since she's not going to do it for herself.
Oh, God.
But anybody that's impressed you, and also what you know of watching Kitana fight.
I typically don't watch unless she's fighting. And it's not a sense of disrespect at all. That's just where my focus is. But you talk about calling someone good, right? Or calling somebody skilled. that's another standard. But when you watch them, there are some who give you a different feel or a different style. But Kitana has the ability to hit you with both hands, kick you with both feet. You talk about kicking forward, turning kicks. So excitement-wise, I'd rather watch her, but, my opinion may be biased.
But I see what you're saying, because a well-rounded game is exciting, right?
Absolutely.
It seems like all the best fighters who are the most fun to watch have multiple weapons, right? Admittedly, and it's the same thing with tricking, we call like trickers who can only do the twisting stuff are called twist bots, right? And so often they're not as exciting as somebody that can kick and can tumble and
Absolutely.
can do the twisting, right? When it comes to point fighting, a lot of times fighters who are just blitzers, not very fun to watch. I mean, am I wrong?
No. You're absolutely right. And sometimes the success of the one round of the person who's not well-rounded, they can master a technique in this game, and it can cause the perception that they are a very good martial artist. And we have to change that verbiage to they're skilled at this game, not a very good martial artist. So if you can only give me white belt to yellow belt curriculum, you fighting in a black belt division, then we have to be careful with the verbiage that we use. And not to say that there's not a mastery of timing, distance, and technique that is involved, but we have to be careful with the verbiage that we use with those people that we consider great martial artists.
I love everything about this, and it actually is a perfect segue to one thing that I wanted to talk to you specifically about. In the previous segment, for those of you that have been tuning in for the whole show, we talked a lot about the importance of being a well-rounded martial artist.
Yes, sir.
And so I want to go back to the sidekick heard round the world from Ocean States, right? And one thing that I want to highlight about what turned out to be a knockout. You were fighting Bailey Murphy in the Super Fights final. You landed a textbook sidekick, right? And the thing that I want to use as an educational point here to our audience.
Yes, sir.
It was not excessive. It was not it wasn't an aggressive shot. It was, you timed it perfectly. You executed with fantastic martial arts technique.
Appreciate you.
And it hit the right place at the right time, right?
Yes, sir.
So we are not a knockout sport. A lot of times that's a criticism of sport karate. It's like, oh, well, you guys can't even knock each other out. Like, how do you call yourself strikers, right?
And that would be the biggest.
Yeah, go ahead.
That would be the biggest statement of hypocrisy, because speed creates power. So if we are some of the fastest and the best judges of distance, then we have the best probability of knock. I mean, look at how all these point fighters are transcending into these other combative sports. It's no footwork, it's no distance management that is like this game. We train to not get hit at all. Other combat sports train to either, shoulder roll or slip, but we talk about not even being there. So it's a whole nother game when you talk about what we do. But if your training is proper, you can translate the concept of this combative game to anything, and you will be successful.
I love that. Hey, you guys watching at home, make sure you clip that, play that on repeat, because that's golden stuff right there. The other thing, I'm also going to give you a shout out, because every once in a while on Facebook, from a belt graduation, something like that, by the way, also proves how real of a martial artist he is, owning schools, running belt graduations, all that. That's beside the point.
Appreciate you.
You got some mean poomsae too, right? When it comes to the Korean forms getting out there. We just had the first ever Korean forms challenge here at the Battle of Atlanta.
It was beautiful too.
Is there any chance that we see Cam Dawson in the Korean forms division at some point?
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely. I would definitely entertain it. If they talk the right number, that's what brings me outside.
So put the prize money up and we'll get Cam Dawson in that division.
Absolutely.
I love it. And the other thing, Cam, is you were in the coach's chair a lot yesterday, going through the open weight.
Yes, sir.
You had one of your fighters, Devin Hopper, who, in my opinion, may be the most underrated fighter on the circuit right now. D-Hop is criminally underrated, in my opinion. He doesn't get the respect that he deserves.
Criminally.
Right?
I like that.
But exactly.
Criminally.
But also, D-Stacks,
Yep.
RPG,
Yep. That's
right.
all in that division, right? Talk a bit about what you were seeing from the coach's chair, and as things kind of move forward tonight, of course, the open weight final for the Battle Zone finals is going to be Bailey Murphy and Tyreek Saint, two phenomenal lightweight fighters. That's going to be fireworks. But talk a bit about what you saw with your guys from the coach's chair.
Being able to be in that position, it always is eye-opening to how things have changed. Because when you're so close and involved in something, you don't always see the changes and the nuances that are happening. So being able to sit back yesterday and really see that this has become a game of preference. So it wasn't a thing of anyone was significantly better. We have to work around the judges to see what their preference is. Some tournaments, it's a back fist day, and they're just loving it. Some days it's a reverse punch day. Other days it's a bent up sidekick day, and they love it. So it just depends on being able to read what they like. And one thing that I do with our fighters is I just sit back and I just really take a tally. And if they're calling this percentage higher, that's what we're throwing. And the same thing happens as far as sports are concerned. If they're calling fouls on a certain referee side, we're gonna play to that side all night long. Right. So it's really just a strategic battle. But everybody presented great skill and great want to win, and that's something that I think is healthy. I don't see a lot of people submitting the way that I have seen in the past of just showing up just to be a part. It seems like all 50 people who were in open weight, or 44.
Big division,
yeah,
regardless.
Yeah. It seems like they want to win. So even everybody's confidence growing, and we're in such a social media time of fitness, even the people you don't believe are technically savvy, they still have the athletic ability to cover the distance to, in this game, all they got to do is touch you. So you have to be mindful of everyone and take everyone serious. And that's what I saw yesterday.
And part of the reason you got to take everybody seriously is that we're dealing with an open weight division right now that has multiple NASCA overall Grands winners. Like the depth in that division, I mean, we were in the quarterfinal, the top 8, and virtually everybody in that top 8 is somebody that's been on a NASCA stage, that's been in those big moments. And that's a testament to how much the sport continues to grow, how many, like you said, those athletes that show that hunger, that want it, right? I think that that's huge. Now, we've been spending this whole segment talking about everybody else, right? I want to start focusing on the two of you, because of course we're not going to get to see you this weekend, right? But shifting focus to Katana, right? I thought you looked fantastic at Ocean States. I've already referenced the thriller of a final that you were involved in with Katie Herman, right? When is the next time that we're going to get to see you in the ring, and what are some of your big goals for the rest of the season?
Probably closer to the fall. I'll be back on the circuit. I guess big goals, just, I don't know, keep doing what I'm doing. I haven't been given this my fullest, so I'll probably start giving this my fullest and see what stirs up. And we're definitely taking it overseas later on this year as well, so some more walkos too. So that'll be fun to kind of dip a little bit more into. But yeah.
Awesome. And I love the fact that you're getting involved into some WACO stuff, doing some stuff internationally. I think that it's good for every fighter to have that experience, going to multiple leagues, going overseas, having some of that fight experience. And by the way, for everybody watching at home that may not have caught that, she said that she hasn't been training as much, maybe not taking it seriously, not investing yourself completely into it like you know you can, right? And still one of the best female fighters on the planet right now, right? So that is scary for everybody else in that division. Cam, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, you said one of.
Ooh.
It's crazy.
Preach, go for it.
That's crazy.
Hey, preach, Mike is yours.
No, I mean, you can't allow people to have good showings here and there and then say she's one of.
Especially fresh on the scene.
That's tough, man. They're just getting their feet wet. I mean, look at how fast y'all are to jump to complimenting people. You know, that's like, you know, your child brings home one good assignment. You say, oh, my kid's a genius.
It's funny, though.
One assignment? What's their final grade? What does their end of the year grade look like? Can they do that over time? And sometimes we are very fast to rush to the emotion of how somebody makes us feel. So, you know, somebody gives us a good feel. oh, they're a great fighter. They're a great. Yes, they have a great personality, but don't allow their personality to fall over into how you compliment them as a fighter. So we just have to be careful with our verbiage because it can be disrespectful to the work that has been done.
Right.
So one of, opinions.
I got you. And Katana, you know that comes from a place of respect when I say one of. That's no disrespect whatsoever. And to Cam's point, if you look at the consistency over the course of years, if you look at a career, I don't think there's anybody else fighting right now that's got the diamond rings that you've got, you know what I'm saying? So the resume speaks for itself. All the respect in the world to you, and I love the way that Cam put that. But now we shift the spotlight to Cam as we get to the end of the segment here.
No, sir.
Are we gonna get to see you again, man?
Not sure, man. Not sure. But I feel good.
Okay, good.
I'm in shape. I'm happy. Building, trying to open up our third school. Just staying active, man. But I'm always ready to fight.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
I love it. That's awesome. So obviously, fingers crossed, as a fan of the sport, of course, as a former teammate, as a brother for life, I want to see you back out there.
Why?
I want to see you back out there bad. Why?
Why?
Because at one point, when you're active, I think you have the ability to be the best, and you've proven that you've been the best before. I'm avoiding the terminology of one of the best. I know that you have the ability to be the best, and that's why I want to see you back out there.
And what is it that you see that makes you want to watch me fight?
Going back, this is a great segue because it's what we talked about at the beginning of the show, right? There's no fighter that's more compelling to watch than a fighter that can do everything, right?
Yes, sir.
You've got so much in your toolbox when you're at your best that nobody ever knows what's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
You never know how Cam Dawson's going to win the fight, but you're pretty sure he's going to win the fight.
Yes, sir.
It's a question of how, and that's part of what makes it so exciting.
I
The other thing I
appreciate
like is you got a lot of old school flair in your fighting style, the lead hand, ridge hand, also the basics, your D-side, the reverse punch, right? And I always love watching that too. That's just a style that I enjoy watching. I love going back, watching the old tapes, especially of your Pops and all the guys that he competed against, right?
Yes, sir.
That you're vintage in your fighting style in some ways, and I love to see that too.
I appreciate you, and I always have to take the time to thank the people who put me in position. Of course, as my father, Gerald Dawson was my instructor and father, but he turned me over to Damon Gilbert, who made a tremendous, impact in my game, and still was a call and text away. Mafia Holloway, major influence. Once again, always a phone call away. So the reason why I asked you why is because I want to ensure that I'm not letting anyone down. I don't want to fight almost a halfway. I want to give you what you want to see, and that's why every time I give you what you want to see, I make it a point to come to you first. But I appreciate that, and I'm not even deserving of that, because if my father did not take his time to tend to me, I would not be anything. He gave me the best part of himself, which was his mind and his fight IQ and understanding and how to be a man. So as much as I appreciate that, I have to pause and stop there to ensure that no one looks at me first, that you identify the man who took the time to make that happen, and then, you can deal with little old me.
I love it. I love it. No better message to end the show with. And thank you both so much for your time.
Yes,
This
sir.
has been awesome. I really, really appreciate it. And of course, Katana, I know we're going to see you again. So I'm excited to see you back in action. And Cam, I'll keep my fingers crossed and say some prayers, man.
I got
But
you.
for those of you watching at home, this has been Good Morning Sport Karate, a special live episode of the Jackson Rudolph podcast. We will be back after the eliminations in today, targeting a 4:30 Eastern start time on Battle of Atlanta YouTube and the Black Belt Magazine Facebook page for Inside Sport Karate. Make sure you head on over to the Battle of Atlanta YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you can see it. We've got some of the top athletes in the world that are going to be on the show, and then we're all getting ready for the Battle Zone finals tonight. I'm Jackson Rudolph. This has been the Jackson Rudolph podcast, and I'll see you later today.